Welcome back, Reader Pops. My March wrap-up is super late. I feel like everyone's is late this, well, okay, that's an excuse. Mine is late this month, but I read amazing books, and it's so weird because I keep a running list throughout the month of what I've read so that I can remember the order in which I read them, and I was so confused because I thought I read these books like months ago. So the months are going by kind of slow, which is good, but I read some new favorites this month, like all-time favorites this month. So let's just get into it. On March 1st, I finished Better Than the Movies by Lynn Painter, and if you haven't already bought this book and read it because of me, then you should now, because it is one of my all-time favorite romances of all time. Did I say that twice? It's a young adult romance, but don't let that stop you if you're not someone who usually reads young adult. This is just, oh my gosh. I want to reread it already because I'm recommending it to so many people, and I've seen so many of y'all tag me that you've read it and given it 5 stars. This is obviously 5 stars for me. It's like my favorite romance book of all time. Wow, it's so cute. And actually it's really funny because I didn't even think I liked it that much when I was reading the first like 3 chapters. I just thought it was like a normal book. If you love movies and you love rom-coms and you love music, all of those things are in this book. Every single chapter has a quote from a different rom-com. So after reading this, I really wanted to watch some classics like Harry Met Sally. Basically, where's the synopsis? Well, I don't even want to give away who the romance is with because I didn't see it coming. I didn't really know anything about the book until I just started reading it. It's so good. Some romance books just suck because the characters feel two-dimensional and like their entire reason for being a character is to fall in love with the person that you already know that they're gonna fall in love with. But this book really felt like she was an actual person. She's dealing with the grief of losing her mom a while back, but now going to prom and having all of these really cool high school graduation milestones without her mom is really difficult. But she's a hopeless romantic and she really wants to have this like high school love experience. And of course it happens in not the way that she expects it will. And this book just keeps the perfect amount of interactions where you feel a spark but it doesn't happen yet, and it keeps the tension going for such a good amount of time, and like it just ends perfectly. I literally immediately made like an entire Spotify playlist with the playlist that's in this book because even the music that she writes to in this book is so amazing. Everything about it I just love so much, and I want to reread it because I've made so many of y'all read it and I just am obsessed with it, and I'm going to read her next young adult romance immediately. Also, can I just say the author, Lynn Painter, is so kind. We DM all the time, and she even emailed me like a bonus episode of their road trip, which I also read and loved, and I downloaded the Spotify playlist of their road trip. But she is just so nice, and like that does not happen all the time when I rave about some books. Like I don't get responses, you know? But Lynn Painter is a queen, and she deserves all the hype, so go read this. Next, I read Legend by Marie Lu, which is very different in genre because it's a dystopian novel. I gave it 4 stars because it was really cool. It's just a good book, but I think because of the genre, I read it and then I was like, oh, okay, I'm not gonna finish the series. I don't really think about it anymore. The plot was great. The mystery aspect and the tension and like the little bit of romance is cool. I know a lot of middle school boys, or just boys in general, really like this book, and it kind of gave me that feeling that it was like not totally my style of book, if that makes sense. But if you like dystopian novels and you happen to be a guy watching this video, I recommend this book because it feels like something that guys would enjoy. But that's not a negative thing if you get what I'm saying. Does this make sense? It feels like so long since I've read this book. I don't know what's going on. Like I just don't even have anything to say about it. But next is another one of my all-time favorite books, The Summer of Broken Rules by K.L. Walther. Look at it. Best cover ever. Gave it 5 stars. It's another young adult romance, and it's... Did I talk about this book in my recent recommendations video? Because I think I did, because this is the one that takes place on Martha's Vineyard and they play a game of assassin. They're there for a wedding, and I think it's the groom's brother who she has the romance with, but it is literally Visco Girl Summer, and I will never let Visco Girl Summer die. It just holds a special place in my heart, and this book was like reading that, and it was super fast for me to read. Like once I picked it up, I was obsessed and I just wanted to read the entire thing, and I loved it very, 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 very much, and you should read it if you haven't. 5 stars for me. Next, I started To All the Boys I've Loved Before by Jenny Han. I started tabbing it because I thought I was gonna make a video where I read the book and then watched the movie, and then I didn't end up doing that because logistically for like a commentary video, I was like, I do not have this set up for this. It just felt like a lot to me. I really liked this book. It's a classic. I'm sure you guys all know what it's about. She writes these love letters to boys just to get over them, and then somebody mysteriously sends them all out and the boys receive them, and then it just starts this whole thing. And yeah, it was honestly so fun fun to read the book and then be able to watch the movie. But I will say, I watched the movie after reading this and I was like, oh my gosh, that does not happen in the book. Turns out it does happen in the book, but in the second one. So I would say read the first one and then read like half of the second one before you watch the movie, because it kind of spoils the second book. So then I read the second book, which is P.S. I Still Love You. And I was like, oh, it does happen in the books. They just kind of mix up the timelines a little bit, because if you didn't know, they have a movie for each one of these books, which is so cool. I also gave this one 4 stars. Whenever it comes to a trilogy, I cannot remember what happens in each, but I love the family dynamics. I am obsessed with Kitty. She's my favorite character by far. This book is just so like high school romance, high school drama, family dynamics, stepmoms, older sisters, younger sisters. If you have sisters, you'd probably really love these books. And at this point, it was getting so exciting for me to read the books that I could watch the movie. And after the second one, I was like, wow, these movies are actually like a comfort movie to me. I love them so much. And if you watched my It's Time to Change My Life video on my main channel, the first shot where it's like, it pans down to me in bed wearing a hoodie, that shot is inspired by one of these movies. And I was just getting like so much inspo from watching the movies and I really, really liked them. So then I read Always and Forever, Lara Jean, and I gave this one 5 stars, probably just because I was getting so attached to the characters, but it's really fun seeing them struggle to figure out like which college that they're gonna go to. It just brings up all of those emotions again of like being a senior in high school and not knowing where your life is gonna go and not knowing if you're gonna stay with the people that you know. At this point, I'm just attached to them, watching the movies and everything. So such a cute series. I understand why it's so hyped up and I wanna watch the movies over and over again. So overall, a great series if you have not read it. Next, I read Love and Gelato by Jenna Evans Welch, which this was such a surprising book. I honestly thought it was going to be extreme kid vibes because it looks like it was made for 12-year-olds. So I was very nervous about that, but the content inside is not like that at all. It's a young adult romance set in Italy, and this actually happened to be like a mystery romance because you've got romance happening in the background, but you're also on a mission to like find out her family history and stuff, and like the mystery of like, is her dad really her dad, or who? It's just kind of so unexpected, but it was so good. And I really, really, really liked the chemistry that she had with the guy. I think it's always great if the two characters who are supposed to fall in love are actually on a separate mission and the love kind of happens like through going on that mission, if that makes sense. And that's exactly what happens in this book. So I give it 4 stars. I kind of have a memory of giving it 5 stars though. So I just love it. I love young adult romance so much right now. I need more young adult romance recommendations. So please leave them in the comments down below because I don't know what I'm gonna read next. But yeah, this was totally unexpected and I loved it a lot. Okay, next I read Anna and the French Kiss, and I am so confused because I lost the book. And that doesn't make sense because I did not read that book one time outside of my house. Like, it should either be right there or downstairs. It's not in a tote bag. It's not in my car. I don't know how I lost this book. Maybe when we like changed this bedroom bed frame, it got lost. It's not under the bed. I do not know where it is at all. But that book was really good. That one is set in Paris. In that book, she also really likes movies. I read so many books this month where the characters loved movies, and so now I'm kind of obsessed with movies. But basically, she gets thrown into a boarding school in Paris, and she's just in this new world overseas, and she just starts to fall in love with this dude. And honestly, I really liked the book. I loved the reading experience, but I just did not like the ending. Okay, some people think that like saying a trope is spoiling it, which is like kind of true to an extent. So I'm going to say the trope that I didn't like, and if you don't want to hear that, just skip a few. But basically, it's a cheating trope. Like, she gets together with this guy before he breaks up with his girlfriend. It's supposed to be romantic when he's like, what does he say? There's like this one line that I really hated where I was like, okay, that just knocked off a full star for me, because he was like, I cheated on her so many times in my head thinking of you or something. And I was like, what the heck? If someone said that to me, I would be grossed out and be like, okay, well then you're probably gonna cheat on me too. Like, why? I just don't like that trope at all. I would have loved the romance if he would have just like broken up with his girlfriend and then started dating that, like, you know what I mean? So, and that was like right at the end. So that was kind of crazy. So I gave the book 3 stars, but if it didn't have that, I'd probably give the book like 4.5 stars. So I would say if you want a romance book set in Paris, I would still give it a read, but just be warned that that trope is in there, and it kind of pissed me off at the end. So there's that. Okay, the next 3 books that I read were for my reading books that Robert Pattinson recommended, because Robert Pattinson, if you don't know, somehow is the dude from Twilight, and now he is the new Batman. So, and I accidentally chose like the hardest celebrity because all he reads are classics. So I listened to an audiobook of The Ballad of the Sad Cafe by Carson McCullers, which was cool. There was some cool commentary on love that I really liked, and it was super fast. The audiobook experience is interesting. I feel like I would rather be listening to a podcast than an audiobook just because of the way that they talk. I feel like the only audiobook I would like is like a comedy of some sort. But yeah, super out of my comfort zone a little bit. Not as like, it's definitely not young adult romance, you know, just the goals of both genres super different. You know, I go more in depth in the video if you want to hear. And then I read Selected Stories by E.M. Forster, but it's a bunch of his short stories, tons of famous short stories like The Celestial Omnibus, and what else is there? The Machine Stops. Maybe you have read some of these in school or something. So it was cool to be able to read those and then actually know like who E.M. Forster is. And I really liked the message of The Celestial Omnibus. And then I read poems by Baudelaire. It's just like a little pocketbook filled with really sad and depressing poems. So obviously those are really out of my comfort zone, and if you want to see my thoughts on them, you can watch the video. Yeah, I read some absolute 5-star all-time favorite bangers in the month of March, and I am lacking book recommendations right now, and I don't know what I'm gonna be reading in April, so please leave them down below. I'm probably gonna head to the bookstore like right after this and go pick up some books to buy. So I hope you liked those recommendations. Go read some of them, and I will see you somewhere else on the internet. Bye!